The morning sun had barely crept over the skyline of London when the news broke. It started as a whisper, an unconfirmed report shared by a small food blog in the early hours of the day. Within minutes, social media platforms erupted, hashtags multiplying like wildfire. Hashtag RIP Gordon Ramsay. Hashtag Legend of the Kitchen. Hashtag Hell's Kitchen Forever. At first, many dismissed it as yet another internet hoax. Celebrity death rumors were far too common, and Gordon Ramsay, with his fiery personality and unshakable presence, seemed immortal. But as minutes passed, the rumors hardened into certainty. Sky News, the BBC, CNN, and every major outlet carried the headline that stopped the culinary world in its tracks. Celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay dies at 58 after battle with skin cancer. For a moment, silence blanketed kitchens around the world. In Michelin-starred restaurants, in bustling food trucks, and in small family-owned cafes, chefs and home cooks alike paused. The idea seemed surreal. How could a man who shouted, raged, laughed, and inspired with such intensity be gone? Gordon Ramsay had been more than a television personality. To millions, he was the embodiment of culinary passion. His sharp tongue and volcanic temper were only part of his persona. Beneath the fire was a man who had devoted his life to food, discipline, and the pursuit of excellence. The announcement of his death wasn't just the loss of a chef. It felt like the fall of an empire. At 9 a.m., the Ramsay family released an official statement. It is with deep sadness that we announce the passing of our beloved husband, father, and friend, Gordon James Ramsay. Gordon fought bravely against melanoma, a battle he kept private until the end. Surrounded by family, he passed peacefully last night. He will forever be remembered for his passion, humor, and dedication to the culinary world. The words struck like a knife. Ramsay had always been larger than life, yet here was the quiet, sobering reality. A man who had faced something even he could not conquer. By mid-morning, tributes flooded in. Fellow celebrity chefs, Jamie Oliver, Nigella Lawson, Wolfgang Puck, Thomas Keller, each shared heartfelt messages. Oliver, once both friend and rival, tweeted, "We argued, we laughed, we competed, but above all, we respected each other. Today, the world has lost a giant, and I have lost a brother in food. Rest well, Gordon." Restaurants dimmed their lights. The Las Vegas Strip, where Ramsay owned several bustling establishments, went quiet in his honor. At Hell's Kitchen in Caesar's Palace, diners wept openly as staff delivered the news tableside. Even those outside the culinary sphere were shaken. Football clubs posted tributes, remembering his early years as an aspiring professional player before injury pushed him into kitchens. Musicians, actors, and politicians paid respects, acknowledging his cultural influence beyond food. Fans across the globe created spontaneous memorials. Outside his restaurants in London, flowers piled up. People wrote notes on napkins and menus, leaving them taped to the glass doors. "You taught me how to cook spaghetti without burning it. You yelled at us through the TV, but you made us better." Thank you for every recipe, every laugh, every tear. For many, Ramsay wasn't just a chef. He was the voice that accompanied late-night cooking attempts, the mentor who barked through the screen, the father figure who demanded nothing less than greatness. Though publicly fierce, those who knew him personally remembered his warmth. His children, Meghan, twins Holly and Jack, Matilda, and Oscar, released their own messages in the hours following his death. Matilda, following her father's footsteps as a young chef, wrote on Instagram, "Dad, you always told me that the kitchen is about love as much as discipline. You gave me both. I will carry your fire with me forever." The Ramsay family's grief made the loss even more tangible. Fans had seen him on television for decades, but to his family, he was not just a star, he was Dad. Journalists scrambled to put together retrospectives. Documentaries were re-aired, montages cut together, and headlines highlighted his journey, from a working-class boy in Scotland to a global icon. Editorials poured in. The man who made chefs rock stars. Ramsay's fire lit a generation, the legacy of Hell's Kitchen. By evening, television networks ran marathon blocks of his shows. Kitchen Nightmares, MasterChef, Hell's Kitchen, all replayed, reminding viewers of the man they had lost. Watching him berate chefs who dared to serve raw chicken or watery risotto felt suddenly bittersweet. That first night, the world seemed quieter. Professional kitchens that usually echoed with clatter and chaos held a moment of silence before service. Fans cooked Ramsay-inspired meals at home, sharing photos with the hashtag #CookForGordon. In London, thousands gathered in Trafalgar Square, candles in hand. They played clips of Ramsay shouting and laughing on massive screens, and instead of tears, the crowd broke into laughter. His insults, once sharp, now fondly remembered, echoed into the night air. "It's raw. Donkey. Shut it down." The laughter turned into applause, then into tears. The world was grieving not just a chef, but a force of nature. And so, the legend of Gordon Ramsay began to shift. He was no longer just the man on TV, no longer just the chef behind Michelin stars. He was immortalized in memory, his story forever etched into the hearts of those who had followed him. The public would not know it for years, but Gordon Ramsay's battle with skin cancer began quietly, far from the cameras, long before the headlines. He was known for his tireless energy. He juggled restaurants across continents, filmed multiple television series each year, and maintained a punishing travel schedule. Colleagues often wondered if he ever stopped moving. Gordon didn't just walk into a room, one producer recalled. He stormed into it, as though time itself had to keep up with him. But the first sign appeared during one of his rare holidays with his family in Cornwall. Tana, his wife, noticed a dark spot on the side of his neck, just under the collar line. At first, Ramsay dismissed it. He was 55 at the time, fit, disciplined, always up before dawn for his daily run. "It's nothing," he told her. "I've had worse burns from boiling pans." Still, she insisted he see a doctor. Reluctantly, he agreed. The consultation was quick but unsettling. The doctor frowned, ordered a biopsy, and Ramsay returned a week later to hear the results. "Mr. Ramsay," the dermatologist began, "you have malignant melanoma. It's an aggressive form of skin cancer. The good news is we've caught it early. The bad news is, this will require immediate treatment." For a man who thrived on control, the words struck him harder than he let on. In the kitchen, Ramsay could command a brigade with a single shout. Here, sitting in a sterile office, he felt powerless. Still, he nodded curtly, as though responding to a sous chef. "Fine," he said. "Tell me what to do. And don't sugarcoat it." Few people outside his closest circle ever knew. Ramsay chose to keep the diagnosis private, sharing it only with Tana, their children, and a handful of trusted friends. His reasoning was simple: he didn't want pity. "I'm not a saint," he confided to his wife one evening. "If the world finds out, every damn headline will be about cancer. Not food, not the restaurants, just cancer. I can't have that." So he carried on. He filmed new seasons of Hell's Kitchen and MasterChef. He opened another branch of Gordon Ramsay's steak in Asia. He laughed, he cursed, he shouted on cue. Viewers never suspected that between filming days, he slipped quietly into oncology clinics for treatment. The early stages involved surgery to remove the melanoma, but tests revealed that the cancer had already begun spreading to nearby lymph nodes. More aggressive treatment followed: immunotherapy, radiation, and eventually chemotherapy. Those close to him noticed changes. He lost weight. His trademark energy dipped at odd times, replaced with a quiet fatigue. On long filming days, he sometimes retreated to his dressing room, lying down for 20 minutes before re-emerging with his familiar fire. His longtime friend and fellow chef Marco Pierre White later recalled, "I knew something was wrong. He looked tired, too tired for Gordon. But when I asked, he just brushed it off with some joke about being an old donkey." Classic Gordon, always covering pain with sarcasm. The illness forced Ramsay to confront something he rarely considered: his own vulnerability. For decades, he had been the Iron Man of the kitchen, unflinching, indestructible. Now, lying awake in hospital beds, staring at white ceilings, he wrestled with thoughts of mortality. In private journals, later shared by his family after his death, he wrote candidly, "It's strange, isn't it? I can spot an undercooked scallop in a heartbeat, but I never saw this coming. All those years in hot kitchens, under blazing lights, out in the sun without thinking. And now, my body is serving me raw." "I'm terrified, not of dying, but of leaving my family too soon. I want to see Oscar grow up. I want to walk Tilly down the aisle. I want to shout at more chefs for making soggy risotto. Is that too much to ask?" Even as treatments wore him down, Ramsay refused to let his illness define him. On set, he remained every bit the force audiences loved: loud, demanding, unrelenting. If anything, his outbursts became sharper, as though channeling his pain into raw energy. One Hell's Kitchen contestant later admitted, "He was brutal that season. We thought he was just in a mood, but looking back, I think he was fighting something bigger. He wasn't yelling at us, he was yelling at cancer." Behind the scenes, however, staff noticed moments of quiet. He would sit longer between takes, rubbing his temples, sipping herbal tea instead of his usual black coffee. Small signs, almost invisible, yet unmistakable to those who knew him well. At home, the Ramsay household became both sanctuary and battlefield. Tana balanced being his caregiver with protecting their children from the worst of it. The older kids knew more, while little Oscar, just a toddler, was shielded from the truth. Family dinners took on a new significance. Ramsay, once too busy to linger, now cherished every meal. No phones, no distractions, he insisted. Just us. Just family. His daughters noticed how often he reached for their hands across the table, how long his hugs lasted. For a man known for fire, his warmth deepened in those years. In 2022, during a rare interview, a journalist asked if he ever feared slowing down. Ramsay paused, uncharacteristically long, and then gave a half smile. Slowing down? He repeated. Maybe, but fear? Fear is for undercooked chicken. Not for me. It was a deflection, but for a brief second, the mask cracked. His eyes betrayed a weight that few recognized. Later, the interviewer admitted, "I didn't know what it was at the time, but I could see he was carrying something heavy. Like a man sprinting uphill with a storm behind him." Why didn't he go public? Why didn't he use his platform to raise awareness? Those close to him believed it came down to pride and focus. Ramsay didn't want to become the chef with cancer. He wanted to remain Gordon Ramsay, the relentless perfectionist, the mentor, the legend. As his wife once explained, for Gordon, the kitchen was his stage. He didn't want the audience to see him weak. He wanted them to remember him strong. And so, the world carried on, oblivious. Fans tuned in each week, laughing at his fiery insults, never suspecting that behind the cameras, Gordon Ramsay was fighting the toughest battle of his life. By 2023, Gordon Ramsay's private war with cancer had become an unrelenting test of will. For a man who thrived on structure and discipline, the disease was maddeningly unpredictable. Some days he felt strong, ready to run 10 kilometers before sunrise. Other days, he struggled to lift himself out of bed, his body weighed down by fatigue and nausea. But if the cancer thought it could silence him, it underestimated Gordon Ramsay. The kitchen is therapy. Ramsay refused to let treatment define his days. Whenever possible, he insisted on being in the kitchen, his sanctuary, his battlefield, his church. The clatter of pans, the smell of searing beef, the hiss of butter hitting a hot pan. These were the sounds that reminded him who he was. To staff, he still barked orders, though occasionally his voice faltered. He learned to pace himself, delegating tasks he once dominated. But the fire never left. "Cooking keeps me alive," he told Tana one evening as he plated a simple risotto at home. "As long as I can cook, I'm not done." Even when his hands trembled, he held the knife with purpose. When his stamina flagged, he leaned on his brigade. In that kitchen, he was not a patient, he was a chef, and chefs never surrender. Treatments toll. Privately, however, the treatments ravaged him. Chemotherapy drained his strength, left his skin pale, his once muscular frame thinner. His famously sharp taste buds dulled, betraying him at times. Imagine telling salt from sugar in your sleep. he wrote in one of his journals. Now imagine not tasting either properly. It's hell. Hair thinned, energy waned, but Ramsay forced himself to keep filming. Viewers noticed small changes: a scarf wrapped higher than usual around his neck, slightly longer breaks between scenes, but few guessed the truth. His children saw more. They watched him fight exhaustion to attend school plays, football matches, birthday parties. They saw him sneak away to vomit in the bathroom, then return to the dinner table with a smile as though nothing had happened. To them, his strength was not in hiding the disease, but in showing up despite it. Quiet conversations. As months passed, Gordon began opening up in rare, late-night conversations with Tana. "Do you think I've done enough?" he asked one night, lying beside her after a particularly harsh round of chemo. She looked at him, bewildered. "Gordon, you've done more than anyone could imagine. You've built restaurants around the world. You've raised 5 amazing children. You've inspired millions. What more could you possibly need?" He sighed. "I don't want to be remembered for yelling. I want people to remember the love, the passion, the food." Those moments of vulnerability were fleeting, but they revealed a man who, beneath the bravado, feared being misunderstood. Moments of defiance. Despite his illness, Ramsay never lost his irreverent sense of humor. During one treatment session, when a nurse asked if he was comfortable, he smirked. "Comfortable? Darling, I've eaten risotto cooked by amateurs on live TV. That's uncomfortable. This is nothing." When a doctor advised him to rest more, he barked back, "Rest? Are you mad? Do scallops rest before hitting the pan?" Even weakened, his wit remained razor-sharp. Laughter, he discovered, was as much medicine as anything hooked into his veins. Teaching until the end. As his energy declined, Ramsay began focusing more on teaching rather than performing. In the final seasons of MasterChef he filmed, his critiques softened, still blunt, but tinged with urgency. He encouraged contestants more, pushed them to believe in themselves. One contestant later said, "It was like he knew time was short. He wanted to pour every bit of knowledge into us, as if we were his legacy." Behind the scenes, Ramsay also recorded hours of private video journals for his children. Messages to be played at future milestones. Birthday wishes, wedding advice, kitchen tips. He wanted them to hear his voice long after he was gone. The last push. By late 2023, the cancer had spread aggressively. His doctors urged him to slow down, to prioritize comfort. Ramsay, ever defiant, insisted on completing one final project: a charity dinner to raise awareness for melanoma research. The event, held in London, drew chefs from around the world. Ramsay, thinner, paler, but still fiercely present, stood in the kitchen orchestrating a menu that blended his greatest hits: beef Wellington, scallops with puree, sticky toffee pudding. At the end of the night, he stood before the guests, microphone trembling in his hand. "Life is too bloody short," he told the crowd. "Protect your skin, take care of yourselves, and for God's sake, never, ever serve raw chicken." The room erupted in laughter and applause. For many, it was the last time they saw him in public. Acceptance. In the weeks that followed, Ramsay's strength faded rapidly. He withdrew from filming, leaving producers scrambling to explain his absence. Privately, he admitted to his family that he was tired of fighting. "I've been in kitchens all my life," he told his children. "Kitchens are hot, relentless, unforgiving. You either survive or you don't. I've survived longer than I had any right to. And I've loved every bloody second." Though his words broke their hearts, his family understood. He had given everything, his energy, his time, his fire. Now, it was time to rest. The battle ends. On a quiet evening at home, surrounded by Tana and the children, Gordon Ramsay took his final breath. The family described it as peaceful, no dramatic struggle, just a man finally laying down his apron after a lifetime of service. His journals, later published in excerpts, contained a final entry: "If you're reading this, I'm gone. Don't mourn me with silence. Cook, shout, laugh, burn the toast, over-season the soup, then try again. That's life. That's love. That's cooking. Take care of one another. I'll be watching, probably swearing from above." And with that, the battle ended. Gordon Ramsay, chef, mentor, father, and force of nature, had fought until the very last course.